I want to continue that conversation. Joining us now is UCLA political science professor Benjamin Radd. Thanks for being with us this morning.
Good morning. Thank you.
Yeah, there's so much to talk about here, but with direct U.S. Israel military action against Iran and retaliation across the region, are we looking at contained conflict or the early stages of a broader Middle East war?
Well, it seems to be creeping broader by the hour as we're going forward, definitely by the day. What was presumed to be a quick decapitation strike has really demonstrated that Iran, or the Islamic Republic, I should say, is more committed to seeing this fight through than it is to re-entering into negotiations.
Well, is this strategy designed to deter Iran, or does it risk locking both sides into an escalation? We heard the president say we could be in this for 3 to 4 weeks.
Yeah, the initial strategy was to use overwhelming force and decapitation strikes, as they were called, to pressure Iran to come back to the negotiating table and basically concede to the terms that the United States had offered it. These were terms that Iran found to be non-starters and led to really the end of negotiations as the president saw it.
Interesting. So in the past, most of the fights were through groups like Hezbollah or militias in Iraq, but now it's direct attacks. Does that make it more dangerous?
Yes and no. On the one hand, when you have direct attacks, there's more accountability. The distance from Iran to these various target sites gives more time for interceptors and other defense mechanisms to really do their thing. The issue becomes really that the cost for Iran to send a missile or a suicide drone, a Shahid drone, is minimal relative to the cost of these interceptors that are needed to take it down. It's a ratio of about 20 to 1. So the cost is high, and the capability of Iran to keep firing these small munitions is greater than the ability of the U.S. to defend against them.
You know, just about 90 minutes ago, U.S. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth was calling on Iranians to take advantage of the opportunity for regime change, even as he said the war was not about ousting the government there. What do you make of the comments this morning? And we should be hearing from the president in just a little while here. What do you think he'll say?
Well, it would make it easier for the administration if the Iranians were to in fact do that, if the people were to rise up. The issue is they don't have the arms, the means to do so. It's not a question of will, and I think we're going to hear the president echo the same thing. They wanted to set the stage and create the opportunity for a popular uprising to bring what's left of the government down, or more importantly, more likely, more preferably, we would see defections within the remaining security units in Iran that would bring the regime down from within.
Absolutely. Attacks near the Strait of Hormuz have disrupted shipping and energy flows, of course, driving up oil prices, another huge component of this story.
Yeah, and that basically gives it a global economic component that really makes it now much more pressing. The sense of urgency as reflected in the markets today really demonstrates that this is a conflict that has the ability to really engulf the entire world. And, the Straits of Hormuz, 20% of the world's oil goes through the straits. We've seen now OPEC indicate that they're willing to increase production to help offset that. But it'll take a few weeks for that to come online.
Tehran saying they're not going to negotiate with the U.S. You have Israel now and Hezbollah trading blows, it looks like, this morning. We're also hearing explosions in places like Dubai and Abu Dhabi, places that most people have considered relatively safe in the Middle East. What do you think we should be looking for today?
Well, we're going to look to see whether Iran will continue escalation, firing into these Arab Gulf states, these capitals, these civilian targets, these energy targets. And are they going to start to run low on their stockpile of missiles? Because at some point, this is not sustainable. The U.S. and Israel are attacking their depots, their munitions factories, trying to take out Iran's ability to launch these attacks. So let's see if they're able to sustain that in the days to come.
Okay. All right. We'll continue to watch it. Benjamin, thank you so much for being with us this morning.
Thank you.